Welcome back to our live training session. We're going to be taking a look at this tutorial at how to dial in our full throttle, low boost for VTEC or high cam operation. So we've already dialed in low cam, we've dialed in part throttle, idle, cold start, warm up enrichment's good. We've dialed in the acceleration enrichment fueling. We've also done a check on our charge temp approximation table. So we know everything's in order. We're now ready to do our VTEC tuning. Now this is actually going to be relatively straightforward. We'll go through a couple things here in the beginning of the tutorial so you know where we're at and kind of with the idea, the strategy we're going to be going through here for this training tutorial. But we'll find that we can carry forward a lot of what we've already developed for the low cam into the high cam mapping. So let's start to unpack this real quick so we can understand this a little bit better. So first things first, we know that we have our fuel table 1. This is the table we run for low cam. This is what we've dialed in: idle, part throttle, full throttle, non-VTEC. The way I've set this up is that we actually have 2 volumetric efficiency tables, and we switch between the tables based on VTEC activation. And VTEC is going to be active with the output aux 14. So let's go into a different area here and take a look at our VTEC tuning for our high cam VE table 2. So we're going to move here in our layout that I'm supplied with the course. Let's go here to layout. Let's go down here to our VTEC fuel. And we're going to find that we have our fuel 2 table here. It's showing inactive because we're not in VTEC right now. The way I've assigned this, we take a look, we have our dual fuel table. We see dual table mode, it's dual table. And then table 2 activation is based on aux 14. Now aux 14 is what Link assigns in their plug and play base file for this Honda K series box for VTEC to activate. We can see right here aux 14. Now we have 2 conditions for VTEC to activate. We have activating based on engine speed, and we have activating based on throttle position. Now we could actually add a 3rd condition and have to meet all 3 conditions in order for it to turn on. We could do this based on manifold pressure being at least 100 kPa. I'll probably do that for right now. So let's say condition 1, 2, and 3. Now we have other options. There's condition or, so the condition would be 1 or 2. 1 or 2 or 3, or there's condition 1 and 2 or 3. So we can get a little bit technical the way we want something to turn on for an output here with Link. I'm going to do 3 conditions, and let's go here to our switch parameter 3, and I'm just going to say map pressure, and that's coming from our map pressure sensor, and we're going to use our condition is going to be greater than and greater than a value of 100 kPa. So we're not able to engage VTEC until we're essentially at higher throttle, higher load, and a reasonable engine speed for the engagement. Now, with this, I don't know what that particular engine speed is going to need to be. So for right now, we have it set at 9,000 to disable VTEC when we're doing our low cam tuning. What I'm going to do is set it low at something like 3,000. Now, we're most likely not going to have it at 3,000. The engine's very likely not going to like it that low, but we can lock it in at a lower engine speed and then figure out where the 2 torque curves cross when we overlay the torque on the dyno here. There's some other techniques that we can figure out where the torque curve could be at without a dyno, and that's usually looking at our volumetric efficiency values. So we look at where the VE value peaks here on our low cam table, and then when we map out the high cam, look at where we have a similar VE value at a similar load. That usually gives us a really good indication of where we want our VTEC. Now, looking at this, I would say based on what we see here on our low cam table, that we probably would expect to see the VTEC to be about 35 to 4,000. Usually it's going to be peak torque is where you want to switch on low cam, but we'll have to find out what that's going to be. So I've set this at 3,000. We can see our TPS, we have to be, let's say, at least 50% throttle, even 40% throttle is fine, and map pressure at 100 kPa. So those are the conditions we're going to set right now for VTEC to turn on and to be able to map things out. Now we're going to set our dyno so that we're actually going to gauge slightly higher than 3,000 RPM. So when we do our pull, VTEC's not going to be turning on at 3,000. We're all going to be locked into VTEC, so we'll be riding all on our fuel table 2 values here. Hopefully that makes sense. So looking at this, there is another aspect I want to point out that's also very important for VTEC activation. There's an on and off delay. This is going to say wait 0 seconds once we meet the conditions to turn VTEC on. That's fine. But the off delay, very critical, because we don't have a hysteresis built in here, meaning we have to drop below certain engine speed and a certain throttle angle and a certain map pressure. So those are our thresholds to engage, but there's nothing for disengagement. It's going to immediately disengage if it doesn't meet any of the conditions. What we want to do is wait 1 second if once we drop below any of these conditions, for VTEC to turn off. We don't want VTEC to cycle on, off, on, off, on, off. It's actually really hard on the rocker assembly and the cylinder head. So we need to be careful with that, and even Honda has a programmed delay value to disengage VTEC once it engages. So we're going to run with a second there. I definitely wanted to point that out because that is something that Link doesn't include in their base files, and it is very important. So I always like to have about a second delay turning it off. Again, just so if we drop below any of the conditions and we come back on the throttle again, or we meet the conditions again, VTEC doesn't go off to on to off to on to off to on. It can be not a good thing. Okay, so in addition to looking at our fueling here, so our VE tables, and we have two VE tables, we also have two spark timing tables. So we've optimized our low cam spark timing table, at least in boost, up to about 100, and I think we went up to about 140 kPa. We didn't go any higher. Well, we were creeping higher because we had really low timing in that low cam tutorial when we were mapping things out, and that led to the problem where we were getting an anti-lag type of effect, and we were finding that we were getting a lot of boost overrun. So once we started to put in reasonable spark timing values and we were coming back down to about the gate spring, about 130-40 kPa gate spring, we were finding that we were riding right about here. We were commanding right around 20 degrees of timing. On this 12.5 13-to-1 compression engine on petrol fuel, that's not bad. We saw that the knock sensor was set up. We weren't getting knock. Everything looked to be in order there, and that's where we backed off, primarily because, number one, I'm playing with a razor edge with knock with this engine being such high compression on 93 octane. But number two, we're going to do a flex fuel tune, so I don't need to push things like crazy on petrol fuel. So looking at this, take a look here, 8,000. We want to just copy these columns to 85 and to 9,000. Looks like we probably didn't get that far, or the table's cut off and I didn't see it, so we want to make sure that's mapped the same. So what we can do here is do two different things for moving forward for doing the calibrating and tuning in VTEC. One thing we can do here, let's go into the VE fuel. We've established in boost where we have our VE values. So these are the values that gave us the target lambda that we were asking for, about 82 to 78 lambda. So we can take these values and we can transpose them onto our VE table 2, or high cam. We can expect similar volumetric efficiency values on high cam. So if we go here, what I can do is go from 3,000 RPM, go all the way up here to 140, and let's go all the way across here, all the way up to 9,000. Okay, we're going to copy this. Then we'll go here into our high cam table, and we know we can use those as a starting point, even in part throttle. So anything below boost, we can still copy and populate that in. Let's do a paste. So now we have a table here that's matching what we have on low cam, but now for the high cam. Now, one other thing I'm going to do is, we know that our torque curve was rolling off on high cam, or I'm sorry, on low cam. That's because we were in low cam, not VTEC. With VTEC engaged, we're going to be able to carry the power band much higher. Therefore, our torque curve is going to be going much further and broader, and we're going to carry power to...
Thanks for checking out our teaser clip. If you want to see the rest of this video and more than 500 hours of current EFI training we have to offer, make sure you click right here. If you want to go and check out more teaser clips from this training course, click here, and you don't want to miss any of the videos we're going to be releasing on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.